By the time I was elected president, I think that I established my credentials as a champion for individual freedom and press freedom in particular. So what do I make of the current accusations that are being made that freedoms are under attack under the Akufo-Addo government? I do not claim to have been a lone knight in shining armor, but it is fair to say we went through many battles together to get where we are today in the media sphere in our country. We did not wake up suddenly one morning to find ourselves with over 400 different radio stations and dozens of television channels instead of one radio station and one television station, both owned by the state and under the firm and unrelenting control of government. The criminal libel law, which had been part of our legal architecture for decades, did not just suddenly disappear from our laws. I have been a part and sometimes led the struggle for individual rights and freedom of the press in this country. I believe in it. It is part of my makeup. And when it comes to the freedom of the press, I am certain I have nothing to apologize for with reference to anything I have ever done or said. In the 2007 campaign to become the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, we used the slogan, "Inimufritite," to wit, we have known you from long ago. Chancellor, we must know what we are buying when we go to the shop. When we cast our ballots for someone, we must know what that person stands for. If we vote for Akufo-Addo, the human rights campaigner, to become president of our country, we have a right to expect that, backed by the Constitution and the presidential oath, we would have a human rights respecter, President Akufo-Addo. I did not imagine that the reputation I had brought to the job would be enough to carry through a freedom and rights protection agenda. Right from the beginning of my term in office, therefore, I tried to strengthen the institutions that would give meaning to the protection of our freedoms. More infrastructural development funds have been allocated to the judiciary in the past 4 years than we have ever seen, and it has gone along with human resource development. Budgetary allocations to the police service, SRAJ, NCCE, and Parliament have all been increased significantly and deliberately to boost up the capacities of these institutions. The Right to Information Act has been passed under my presidency and is now in operation despite successive governments shying away from it. That is how rights and freedoms are best protected. Since becoming president, there's nothing I have seen or experienced in the office that would make me change my long-held views on the importance of fundamental human rights. I had worked with civil society organizations and used their platforms to engage in famous arguments. Indeed, I still enjoy a healthy debate, and I'm not averse to the occasional controversy that is a necessary part of public life. I do not forget that I made a living practicing as a lawyer and going to court, which means that I know I would lose some arguments. I appreciate well-argued opinions and challenge the status quo. I need no lessons in the importance of a vigorous media in building a healthy democracy. I have said so, and I will say it again, that I would much rather we had a reckless press than a supine one. And I dare say that the atmosphere in our country is one of spirited conversation and debate among politicians, the business community, civil society organizations, and ordinary citizens, through print, radio, television, or in particular, social media, whether they are home or abroad. Indeed, I dare say the means to get your voice heard has never been so democratized as now, and long may it last. Having said that, I must also acknowledge that, as our elders say, it is the person wearing the shoes that is able to say exactly where it pinches. Therefore, I should listen when it is suggested that journalists are under attack under my government. It remains a matter of great regret to me that the murder of Ahmed Suale has still not been resolved. But believe me, this is not for want of commitment on the part of the police. And I couldn't have made it any clearer that government has no interest in covering up whatever might be or whoever might be involved. There is no indication that his death was at the instance of the government. In the end, his murderer will be caught, tried, and punished. I believe it is in the interest of the state, in the interest of the people of Ghana, and in the interest of government, the journalists are and feel able to go about their work in safety. And I'll continue to do all I can to make this the reality of Ghana. In my political career over the years, I've been at the receiving end of much vitriol and deliberate falsehood thrown at me to cause maximum damage to my reputation and my political prospects. I know what it is like to be unable to protect members of your family from the mud aimed at you, but which splashes on them as well. I'm not alone in this. And there are unfortunately several journalists that have been willing to lend themselves to the destruction of people's reputations and livelihoods without just cause. Not all journalists are upright citizens, just as politicians, painters, and farmers are not all upright citizens. But I do expect our institutions to deal fairly and equitably with all citizens according to the dictates of the law when people go wrong.